Good afternoon, folks. It's Sunday afternoon, about 4:30. It's about 4:30 in North Alabama here. Just been chilling all afternoon, and this is no specific video. It's just one of them videos that I just, felt like sharing. But when I got my phone a month ago, I had all my pictures and videos of my dogs and my babies, my grandbabies and all that transferred over to my new phone. And here the other day when I don't remember exactly what I was doing, but I'm dumb as a stump when it comes to anything technical relating to the internet or iPhones or computers. So somehow I managed to delete all of my uh, pictures and my videos and everything on my phone. So I was looking at my old phone, it still was working, but the screen was busted up so bad that it'd just be sitting there and call the president and all. And it had a mind of its own. But anyway, I was scrolling through and kind of cleaning up the files and going to figure out how you transfer them to my computer. And I come across old Fredo. And I just wanted to share with you memories can be good and memories can be bad. Excuse me. Memories can be good and memories can be bad. And memories can be happy and memories can be sad. But I don't really think, with the state I was in late 2019, when old Fredo come dragging up out of the woods, and he was 14 or 15 when he drug up out of the woods, and it was so obvious that he had been a bait dog. He had scratches and scars all over him. And I've seen a lot of emaciated dogs, but Fredo literally was a spine and a skull and four legs and ribs with skin hanging off of it when he came to me. And we immediately bonded because he knew he had found home. I don't believe that he would have lived another day if he hadn't found us. But from that second we met, and I'd helped him get over to the house, and I went and got him some food, and I sat down there, and I even got some milk and mixed up in his food. And from that second on, he just was so devoted to me, and we became so much deeper than friends. I loved all my other dogs. I loved Shadow, and I loved J Bubbles, and all the hounds. We had probably 15 hounds at that time, maybe 20. I don't know. The Mutt Hut was booming at one time. Around the time Cindy left in 2020, we had 26 that was under our care. Excuse me. But Fredo was something special. I believe God sent Fredo to me to let me literally love him back to life and share what time he had left in this world. And I promised him from day one, I said, my dear friend, I'll love you to death. And I did that. I loved him to the last day. And about 6 months before he passed away, he got to the point where his cancer was eating him up and he couldn't get around. And I would have to kind of walk him. I had a little sling made, and I'd put it around his backside, and I'd walk him out, and then I'd hold him up, and he would pee and poop on my hands, and I didn't care. That's what real love, when you're looking after a spirit, will do. And you could see it in his eyes, how true his love was for me. And that love, that deep and abiding love that I hadn't felt physically for so many years, began to woo me out of the dark place that I had been for at that point 7 years. Or when he come, it had been about 5 years. It was right before this 4 or 5 months before Cindy left in 2020. Maybe 6 months, I'm not sure. But anyway, we became so close. And he loved living here, and he was so happy, and he would hobble around and play outside. And then, but about 6 months before he died, he got to the point where the cancer was taking its toll. And I just began to do what people that love each other and care for each other do. I began to serve him. And in that service, I knew what was coming. And I knew there would be a day that I would have to carry him to the vet. And we would have to put those needles in him and watch him pass away. And I have to say, I remember when my mom died 22 years ago. It was very painful. My mom was the only human that loved me unconditionally in this whole world. And then when my dad passed away, that was hurtful. But I tell you what, old Fredo, he loved me so deep and so wide, it was incredible. The bond that we had together was so strong that when we put him in his little red wagon and we rolled him out to the truck and we loaded him up in the back seat, and me and him sat together in the back seat, and when we got to the vet, we unloaded his little red wagon and we put him in it and we rolled him in. And I sat there with him holding his head in my hands when they put the first needle in, and it made him real groggy, real groggy, real groggy, but he was looking me in the eyes. And he said, "Poppy, I love you, and it's okay because you promised me that you would love me to death." And here we are. But today, when I was looking through all those pictures, and that morning we got up and I laid down with him, and there's a video, but it's too private to share. Where I laid down with him and we shared the last few minutes together in his little bed that I'd made him on the floor. And then we got him, we put him in the wagon, and we took him one last walk around the farm, and then about 10 o'clock we loaded him up in the truck and took him to end his life. And less than 12 hours later, I'd been sitting over the grave, and I hadn't drank anything in a long, long time, and I drank 2 or 3 beers, and I wasn't right. And the devil just told me to go in the house and get your gun, come back out there and splatter your brains out all over the ground. And I was heading on the house to the gun, and God intervened. And here I am today doing this ministry and doing all those things, but I still miss my old buddy Fredo. I've cried for a ton of dogs in my life, but when Shadow died, for some reason, her death was different. I didn't shed no tears, it was peace. The reason I believe I'm shedding tears right now is because I was reminded that God knew that it would take something drastic to get me out of the darkness where I had lived for 7 years. And I believe in this, when I have a chance to talk to people here and there, I tell them I believe that my deep love for that old hound dog, and he returned that love unconditionally. It was a two-way street. it caused his death to be so painful to me that I believe that pain was the rope God used to pull me out of that dark and horrible place that I lived in for so many years and lift me back up and now place me into ministry. But I want to tell you, folks, angels come in all shapes and all sizes. And I believe, you can call me crazy, and it ain't in the book nowhere, but in my heart I believe God sent me an angel in the form of a broke down old hound dog. It was old and broke down just like me. Gray hair and couldn't hardly get around, but he had a heart of gold. I believe he was the key that God used to wake me up. And when I finally got to the end of me and was going to kill myself because the pain was so great, it was kind of like the final loss. What more can there be, Lord? I've lost everything in my life. And I felt so alone. But I tell you what, sometimes God will let you get all the way to the end of yourself with your trigger, where you're reaching for the trigger to end everything in this world, and God will intervene. And he'll say, you need to stop, son, because you're mine. And even though you're broke, I ain't done with you. And I heard God, and I stopped in my tracks. And I'll tell you what, it's been a 13-month, well, really a 12-month journey to get back to where I can really hear God again. I feel him in deep in my spirit. And I sat out on the porch a little while ago after watching a couple of the videos of me and Fredo's last day. And I even built him a casket a couple days before he passed away. It was a beautiful little casket, and I buried it. We buried him in that casket and put him out there in Lonesome Hills. That's our little cemetery, and there's 8 or 9 out there. And we've lost, I don't know, we've lost 11 or 12 dogs in the last 3 or 4 years, and every one of them hurt. But we still got 15. But I tell you what, we love them all, but there's a couple of them that are always real special, and they rise to the top. But I shed some tears today. And they felt painful, but what they really are, and I'm only sharing this with you guys to tell you, when you lose your parents and you lose your pets who are your family, and anybody that don't think your dogs are your family, you're a sorry, low-down human if you don't love them like they're your family and you chain them up outside and starve them to death, or you fight them, or all that. Don't come around my house, because I'll hurt you. It wasn't the pain anymore of his death that kind of set me in a kind of a not sad, these are happy tears, because I finally got to the point that my life is, Lord has set me back on his rock, the greatest foundation there is in your life. And if you don't have Christ, there's no way that you can make it. And even if you do have Christ, but you got him buried so deep in a dark place that you can't hear him anymore, something will happen in your life that will cause you to consider, is this the end of a bad life, or is it the beginning of a brand new, wonderful life? But I'm not going to say that I don't miss Fredo profusely. But I'm getting to the point where when I remember Fredo, or I look at those pictures, which I do fairly regularly, I realize what a blessing it was to have him in my life. And it's changed the way I look at things, and it's changed the way I react. Like when Shadow passed away, I didn't mourn her. I was more happy that she was free of her seizures. And we had a couple die of anemia in the last year. A little bit died, and Bear died. And Otto, one of our dogs that Stephen kept in his house, he dug under the fence and he run off, and he hasn't come home. And it's been months. But the Mutt Hut is a calling for both me and Stephen, and I appreciate all those that have helped me earlier on in this time after Cindy left and everything collapsed for me. But we're okay, and I'm okay. But I'll tell you what, there's been a handful of dogs in my life that I still to this day remember. But Fredo had such a profound effect on me, I just can't shake his memory. It doesn't become okay for him not to be here. I've just learned to manage it in such a way that it doesn't just flip me out and cause me to want to lay down and die with him. God is so good, and he'll use things that are so unique to bring you back to himself, where he can. And only when we're broken completely and all of us is missing, and it's just me and him and that soul that he created, but the body is ruined, the body's wretched, the mind is ruined, the mind is wretched. That's when God will say, stop, son, or stop, daughter. Now that you're broken down, I can use you because there's no more resistance. And that's where I'm at in my life. And I'm so grateful to God for reminding me that life is precious. And if your problems are so deep and so hard, I would ask you, not wait till you get to the point that I was, where you might be considering ending it all, because I don't remember where I heard this, but it's been a lot of years that I've said this, that ending your life is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Can you see the smile on my face? I have the joy of the Lord that only comes, there's joy and there's happiness in this world. Your heart gets feeling so good when you see a beautiful sunset or something, but the joy of the Lord that comes directly from the Lord. And then when you add that peace that passes all of our understanding, we don't understand why we're bulletproof and why things don't hurt us anymore and things don't stick to us. Well, it's because the Lord Jesus Christ got up on that cross of his own volition, and he took everything for us so that we could have everything in eternity. Thank you, folks, for listening to all my rambles. But I'll tell you, I love my dogs. And if I see somebody hurting a dog, I'm not a Pentecostal. I'm not a charismatic. I don't do all that kind of stuff. I don't lay my hands on you and heal you. But I'll tell you what, if I see you hurting a dog, or I see you abusing a dog, I'm going to be the most maniac Pentecostal. I'm going to lay hands on you, and I'm going to put a healing on you in a way that you won't come back from if you ain't careful. The Bible tells us be kind to animals, and they bring joy to our lives. And I appreciate all of y'all that understand my curse, which is I love my dogs, and I've loved 150 or 200 of them in my lifetime. I don't remember even all their names, but I remember them. Y'all be blessed, and this is all I got for today. I just overcome with joy and happiness while I was fumbling through some memories. God is good, and I'm looking forward to whatever he's got in store in front of me, but I'm looking more forward than anything to leave this place, whether it's in the rapture or whether it's my time to go and be put in the dirt. The only thing that I really want out of this life is I want to see Jesus' face, where I can tell him to his face that I love him. Y'all be blessed. There'll be more coming tomorrow. God bless y'all.